Facebook. Hey, if you're watching this on live or replay, let me know in the comments below. And by the way, I'm testing some things out. Do you prefer a video like this, where it's the camera, the background, everything, or something more on a camera itself, where it's a little bit more informal? I'd love to know in the chat below. I'm doing a little bit of testing on how to deliver content and value to you. So, do you prefer this nice studio setup, or do you prefer being more like straight from my phone, that type of thing? Let me know in the comments below. I would absolutely love that. But today, I want to dive into a topic that I've been struggling with and struggling through as an entrepreneur that wants to succeed. And I wonder if you struggle with this as well too. But have you ever felt anxious, especially if you feel like you're in a waiting season? You got big, big dreams, big goals, and all of a sudden time slow down and you're like, oh, what do I do with this? I'm the type of person that if I feel like there's an emptiness in my calendar as an entrepreneur, I feel like I'm not being productive. I feel like I'm wasting time. And all of a sudden, I start to get anxious and start to try to take random action to fill in that void. And again, it ends up burning me out, tiring me out, and actually not being that productive. So today, I want to talk to us today about what do you do in a waiting season? What do you do when times are seemingly slow? So if that sounds like something interesting to you, be sure to share this, be sure to tag someone onto this, and let's have some fun into this. It's summertime out here in the States. It's July 10th. And this has been a peculiar season. I've been in the network marketing space for 16 years. So I've been through many, many seasons. And this one in particular, I was walking with my wife the other day and I told her that I know that there's seasons in any business, and summertime is typically a slower season in this business because people are on holiday, people are on vacation, people are traveling. But I've never really felt it. And this year, for some reason, while it's been our best year ever, in full transparency, this month has been one of the slower ones where I feel like, and when I say slow, sales are fine, but I say slow because I notice that people are responding not as quickly. I notice that leaders are traveling and not as tied to their phones, which is great. I noticed that prospects seem to be not as receptive as quickly. I've noticed that social media, it seems like it's slower. Maybe it's just me, but I wonder, have you noticed this as well? There's some very logical parts to why this happens because it is summertime in the States. In other parts of the world, I have a big Australian team, for example, it's wintertime over there. So there are some really legitimate reasons why the world kind of slows down. But at the same time, this year I feel it more. And maybe it's because we have a bigger group now. Maybe it's because we're looking at relative growth. We had our biggest April of our entire lives, and then followed up with an okay May, an okay June, for example. And in the midst of this, as somebody that wants more, as somebody that really has big, big goals, I hit that wall. And it's that feeling of, am I doing enough? Is this okay? I feel like it's this feeling of running on a treadmill, not going anywhere. You're sweating, you're getting tired, and you're like, am I doing something wrong? So I want to submit to you some things that we've done that have been helpful mentally, emotionally, but also business wise as well too. And I wonder if it would help you as well too. So here's a couple things. Is first understand that there is a season for everything. Jim Rohn said, winter follows fall, fall follows summer, summer follows spring. The Bible talks about their seasons and times. In fact, from the wealthiest person in the world, King Solomon, talked about that in Ecclesiastes. So it's real. Like God made our world, so there's seasons. So we have to understand how to be in each of these seasons. It's not always going to be summertime. That's exactly what you're facing right now. Yeah, it's a seeming slowdown, right? So it's not always springtime. It's not always that things are moving and scaling and exploding and everything. In fact, most of us would not be able to survive that. while that's an amazing experience, no one is designed to be able to withstand long sprints. It's just physically impossible and completely unhealthy. So, life and business have cycles in them, and they're all beautiful. Summertime, talking about seasons, sounds fun. If you're out here, I'm in San Diego, you can go to the beach, you can go explore different places. Wintertime is also beautiful too. Wintertime, you can go ski, you can snowboard. By the way, are you a skier or snowboard? Let me know in the comments below. Put a one in the comments if you're a skier, put a two in the comments if you're a snowboarder. I am a failed skier, so I'm a snowboarder. Both are beautiful, right? All the seasons are beautiful. There's seasons of joy, there's seasons of sadness. They're all, no one wants to be sad, but I think we can all agree that you learn more in those grieving periods, right? There's times when unfortunate situations happen, tragedy strikes, health crises. Like there's things that happen in our life. So, as entrepreneurs that want to sustain and last the test of time, that want to leave a legacy, that want to leave an impact, we have to embrace that there is such a thing as different seasons. Yes, Perth is cold. Yeah, it's wintertime over there, right? So understand that it's normal to have seasons. Absolutely. Business and life. So if it's normal, then the next question is what do we do in each of these seasons? How do you navigate in those seasons? And a season could be a day, it could be a minute, it could be a month, it could be a year. We all have different types of seasons in our life. And what I've realized is in a slower season, let's call it wintertime. In a slower season in business, I've learned to ask a different question. Here's some flips that have helped me. If you ever feel anxious and you're just trying to fill in time with productivity, for example, you start posting tons more, you start talking tons more, you start frantically taking action. What I've noticed is that typically doesn't lead to good results because in business, it's not about the activity you do, it's not about the time you put in, it's about the productivity of that time. So, what happens is if we're moving in a frantic state, a frustrated state, an anxious state, prospects feel that, people feel that, and it repels business. Nobody wants to join or buy from somebody that seems like they're running from out of desperation. So if we understand that, then it's better to take a step back. And what are some things that we can do when we take a step back? Let's ask some questions. Ask, what am I supposed to learn in this season? What are some things that I need to work on myself? Slow seasons are fantastic because they allow you, they're usually after a fast season, they allow you to slow down and evaluate more. Okay, so for sake of example, we've had a very big growth season in our business, and we're very grateful. 10x growth from year to year, lots of new people, lots of new customers, which is fantastic. We just onboarded, for example, 700 new amazing leaders in Australia and New Zealand, and we love that. But at the same time, when there's a lot of growth, it also means there's a lot of little details that we might need to clean up. So if things start to slow down, it allows you as the leader to actually look at details, to retune up, to sharpen the sword. So I start to look systematically. What are things that we can do that have been barriers before? What are some things that we can improve on, tool up? Are there any things that have been preventing sales from growing faster? What problems have you been seeing hit over and over and over again in your business? So we've been able to slow down and evaluate. And actually, we've spent the last month still doing business, of course, but a portion of my time daily is I'm actually innovating and sharpening our tools and systems in place. It's frustrating. I don't like making tools, by the way, because that's not exactly an income producing activity. But in the long run, if you sharpen the sword, and then you do it well, you execute it well, then it'll save you a lot of time, energy, and money in the long run. We just launched a system to 100 of our leaders that is going to help them 10x their business like this last week. So at the moment, it's okay. Like we have good sales, But I know in the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, it's going to pick up and actually be better than it was before. Does this make sense? Right. So, what can you do when you slow down to actually ask questions and get better at? In your business, evaluate all your systems, evaluate your tools. Let's go deeper than that, though. Systems and tools are one part of that. Another part, though, is let's evaluate your own daily methods of operation. Let's evaluate your system of habits. I noticed, for example, that in a busy season, which was great, I started to let go of some essential habits. I know that if we want to have longevity in life, then the only way that we can have longevity is if I take care of me, meaning I need to make sure I'm feeding my body, mind, and spirit every single day. And you know what happened? Little things, especially when super busy, I'm loaded with calls all day, I'm in responding mode. I started to let go of a workout habit. I started saying to myself, I can go to the gym tomorrow rather than today. And it makes sense. I'm traveling. There's a lot of things. I have a now 10-month-old baby. Man, they grow up fast. So those got in the way, and I allowed them to get in the way. And I started to see my health habits go not be as disciplined. I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't eating as well. I wasn't drinking my water. I wasn't taking my supplements. I wasn't doing those things. And those are small things, but if you don't address them, they become big things, right? Success in life, success in business is an accumulation of little habits done successfully over the course of time. So you have to evaluate in a day, what habits have you been leaving on the table? My spiritual walk. I started spending less time with the Lord. I started spending less time in the Bible for me. I started praying less because I'm so busy. But the devil wants to have busyness replace what your purpose is. Busyness is probably one of the biggest deceptions and lies and attacks that the enemy has on all of us right now because it's easy to be busy. I stopped listening and reading as much. I stopped listening to podcasts. I stopped reading more books. These things compound. So evaluate yourself. One other thing you can do in wintertime is evaluate your relationships. Super important. You know, one of the biggest things that I've seen that hold people back from succeeding or being capped in their business is because the reason why we do our businesses, isn't it for our family? Isn't it for our legacy, our spouse, our friends? Is what happens is when we get into a busy season, we start to neglect our relationships that matter to us that we're doing our business for. And when those are neglected and those are strained subconsciously, you block yourself from being more productive because you start to think, well, if I am already struggling with my marriage right now, if I'm struggling with my kids, if I'm struggling with my family, if I get busier and I get more productive, that might mean that it'll hurt my relationships more. Can we all agree that it's not worth sacrificing your family for more success in your business? No one, I hope you don't choose that. Try it. Doesn't work well. It doesn't mean you cannot be more successful. Another lie I believe is that sometimes we think more success means more pain and strain in the relationship. That's not true. Don't let yourself go out of that. But we have to look at our systems in place. What's your system of investing into your relationships? What's your system of making sure that you prioritize your most valuable things in your life, which are your family, your friends, and all of that? And I realized that my systems were off a little bit. So during a winter time, I'm able to reassess that. So for sake of example, with our marriage, it's been a big, big focus. Me and my wife are going to be married 10 years this year. And I realized after 10 years, my wife is my business partner. So we've been so hardcore in work mode that we haven't invested in our relationship as much as we should have. It became really a business partnership rather than a romantic relationship. And we started to say, this is not okay. So we started to put some things into place. We went to a marriage retreat from our church. We did a 10-year wedding vow renewal in Bali when we factored that into our leadership retreat. We implemented a weekly Bible study between me and my wife, and Jaden sometimes is there, where we block out our phones and we do not touch anything else, but we're having real conversations. And while that might seem like, you might think, well, how do I scale a business if you're taking more time out of your day seemingly in your week in the quote unquote little time that you have to do that? I'd submit to you that it's not about the sprint, it's about the long-term success. And that's why I've been able to last. And that's, if you see anybody that's able to last over decades in a business, it's because they are constantly making sure their foundation is good and they're not falling apart. So we started to put these different structures in place and we're moving in a more positive direction. With my son, I'm making sure that I'm spending quality time every day with just me and him. So, does this make sense at all? What do you do in a waiting season? What do you do in a time when things seem slow? It's a good time to ask questions. It's a good time to reevaluate. It's a good time to sharpen the sword, get better. Now, don't stay there though. As a leader, we still have to navigate forward. As a leader, we still have responsibilities. As a business leader, we still have a flock to feed. We still have people to help. We still have a mission to serve. We still have a message to deliver. So I don't leave the field. You know, one of the biggest things that hurt leaders, and this, oh my gosh, when I see this, it hurts my heart because I know how much it hurts the leader and I know how much it hurts the team, is when the leader decides that they need time off and they literally just disconnect from everyone and they leave the field. They leave the post. They're just like, I'm out. See ya. Bye. It's okay to take time off. I love a Sabbath. I love a Sabbath day. I've taken weeks off. But ultimately, as a business leader, we are responsible for our people. So we have to responsibly also delegate time as well. So if you do leave, which is fine, do you put leadership in place? Do you have systems in place? Do you care about your people enough to figure out a way to fill in the void as you're gone? But if you just leave, don't expect when you come back, if you didn't do it properly, to have your people to have the same type of trust and relationship and influence with you, because they're not there for you, they're there for them. One of the biggest pet peeves I have is leaders just leading the flock without preparing their people in the leadership. It is so bad on them. It hurts their influence. I'm fine, but I just know the negative impact that it has for them and their people. Okay. So, one last thing, talking about waiting seasons, what do we do? In a waiting season, I believe it's also a perfect time to reevaluate your goals. So many times we're running because we're inspired to achieve something. We're either trying to achieve and accomplish something, or we're trying to run away from something. And in seasons where it seems slower and you're waiting, those are opportunities that you can resharpen your goals and ask yourself the key question: do I still want what I said I wanted a year ago, 6 months ago, 5 years ago? Because so many times you might not be aware of it, but your life has changed, your priorities have changed, and what you thought once motivated you changed. So if you don't change that motivation engine, then you're running with the wrong one and you're not at full capacity. So ask yourself the serious question again: do I still want what it is that I say that I want? So I sat down with myself, with the Lord. I'm praying, I'm journaling, I'm asking, I'm doing some self reflection. I'm then sitting down with anyone that you feel is important around you. My wife, for me, we're asking, what do we actually want? Do we still want the same things? I'm celebrating past victories, but I'm intentional about what I want in the future. And I'm recommitting to my goals and my targets. You got to sharpen up the fire again. You might need to put a new vision board together. You might need to set another accountability. You might need to retune some goals. You might need to change the deadline of some goals before. You might need to shelve some of the goals and put on some new ones. It doesn't matter. It's whatever you feel in that season that you actually want, because a leader's responsibility is, if we don't know the vision, our people won't know the vision. One of the most negative things that can happen for a leader is a purposeless leader. Have you ever been around somebody that you could just tell their motivation was gone? You could just tell that they're just going through the motions, and you're just like, I don't want to, why am I around this? A leader's primary objective, I believe, is to show people by example how to live life, to show people how to strive towards the call that God's put onto their life, to show people how to succeed. And success is achieving what you want. Success is achieving what God's placed on your heart. So if we're not going after that target and we're not motivated by that, it doesn't matter what you say or what you do. We are dropping the ball as leaders on what our primary objective is. And this could be for your family. This could be for your business. This could be anything in life. We have to check ourselves and our vision and our motivation at the door. No one else can fire you up for you. Don't wait for someone else to come. Jim Rohn used to say, don't wait. Don't wait. What if they never show up? As a leader, it's up to you to make the decision on where you're bringing your team, your people, yourself, your family, everybody. So resharpen these things up. And as you get that in your season, this is what inevitably starts to happen. You're fired up again with new vision or renewed vision on what you want. You now have new systems in place to make sure that your body, your mind, your spirit, your relationships, the things that matter the most to you, are in line. You've reconfigured your calendar and your priorities. You've reconfigured and you've sharpened up your tools and your systems and your strategy and your business. You bring a new you into the mix, and now you're able to get to the next level. And I've always noticed this. God does things in a very intentional way. It's like the slow seasons are testing seasons. I think about Moses leading the Israelites through the desert. If you don't know that story, they escaped Egyptian slavery. What was supposed to take just months ended up taking them 40 years. Why? There's valuable lessons to be learned in waiting seasons. And sometimes we stay stuck in a winter season that shouldn't have taken that long because we keep on hitting our head on the same wall and we don't actually sit down to reflect and to actually renew ourselves. But on the flip side, here's this. Whenever I enter into winter season, a slower season, using what it is that I just shared here, I've noticed that once we figure these things out and we confront it, it's like the door opens faster. The sooner that you can solve these problems and confront these issues, the sooner the next season comes. That's what I've noticed in my own personal experience. So guess what? We had a more of a winterish season the last month or so. It allowed us some good time to retune all these things up. And now I can already sense it. The next 2 to 3 months are going to be a new, bigger, better season because I have a renewed vision, renewed systems in place for everything, and a new target. And now I'm mobilizing. And now the team is getting equipped and all these things. And the harvest always come after you sow it. The next 60 to 90 days for our team is going to be the most incredible season. It's going to be record-breaking months. It's going to be top promotion, success. I already know these are inevitable things, but it's by design. Hello. So with that said, just want to drop some thoughts for today. By the way, I love your feedback. I am talking about reflection. I'm in a very reflective mood on a personal rebrand of how I can show up to help you better. I'd love to ask you a question. Do you prefer, if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, do you prefer this type of a video where it's like studio format, nice camera, nice mic? Or do you prefer like a more informal one where it's on a phone and it's like a live? What do you prefer? Put a one in the comments if you prefer like a studio, more nicely quality, that type of thing. Or do you prefer, put a two in the comments if it's more like impromptu, phone in my hand, that type of a thing. So I'd love to hear that. And what I'm navigating on, if you know me, I love some of your feedback. I've been asking people this question: what do you think and how can it add value to you the most? And where I think I'm settling on is talking about purpose driven leadership. Awesome. I have some responses in the chat. I appreciate that. Talking about how to scale with longevity, systems, tools, but more importantly, the proper mindset, how to scale without burnout, how to have servant leadership, how to build your influence and build a life that you never have to run away from. Like, I'm kind of thinking these types of topics. But if there is anything that you feel, if you do know anything about me, if there is anything that you feel that I can add the most value to you and others, let me know, whether private message or in response to this. I'm just doing some inventory because my goal is to be able to sharpen it up and then produce more stuff like that. So my goal is I might do more pop-in lives and just share some things. And hopefully they won't be this long usually, or maybe they will, but I'm thinking like 15-minute things, pop in and share some types of topics that I hope are relevant, transparent, authentic, and helpful. So, with that, if it was helpful, consider subscribing or sharing this. And I can't wait to share some more things. But take this, and if you're in a winter season, apply it. Let me know what happens, and just watch how quickly your next season comes.